Hello, I'm Kristen Wrznowski, the executive editor of TV Reel, and I'm speaking with Joe Berlinger, a pioneer of the true crime space and an Oscar-nominated documentary filmmaker. Hi, Joe.
Nice to talk to you. How you doing today?
I am doing great and looking forward to hearing about your latest project, Shadowland. Tell me, what was the genesis? How did this come about?
Well, the Atlantic magazine did some amazing reporting. They did a online project called Shadowland, in which they talked about conspiracy theories, their origins, why people believe, and I thought that was a great idea. So I talked to the Atlantic about turning it into a TV series, and following their reporters as they investigate while also doing our own reporting. And that's how it started. But what I wanted to do was, the country is very divided. We demonize each other. We've divided into two camps for the most part. We treat each other like caricatures, and yet we're all Americans. And so for me, I was more interested in the human angle, not in litigating the truthfulness or lack thereof of various conspiracy theories. Although the burden of doing the show is obviously you can't give oxygen to conspiracy theories. I don't want people to walk away from the show thinking that the point of view that people are expressing about dangerous COVID cures, for example, I don't want people to walk away thinking, oh, that's true, because then I'm contributing to the problem of misinformation. But generally speaking, I wanted to allow people to have their say, to treat them with respect, and to understand why they've come to believe in these conspiracy theories, because it's no longer on the fringes. Conspiracy theories have moved to the mainstream. They are driving our politics. And the very foundation of American democracy is people with different interests, different points of view, coming together, agreeing upon a basic set of facts as the truth, and then trying to do what's best for the collective good. That's obviously not happening in this country. People don't talk to each other. They demonize each other. And I think that's when totalitarianism, knocks on the door. And, I just wanted to go out into the world with a team of great filmmakers. There were three terrific directors on this. I was the executive producer, and they brought back some, amazing material.
How was it plotted out? What stories were going to be explored across this 6-part series?
We wanted to hit upon all of the kind of major issues that are going on. So, of course, we focus on several people involved with January 6th. We focus on families that are being torn apart by QAnon, where one member of the family is a believer and others aren't. And that's a huge problem. You see the fabric of society being torn apart at the family level. We also see local politics becoming increasingly dysfunctional. So we profiled school board meetings where, we shot this some of this in the height of COVID. So the hot topic was masking or not, and vaccines and all that. And it was not healthy debate at these school board meetings. It was knockdown, drag out fights. To the point where, some school board members going out to their cars are getting, to go home, or getting death threats. So at the local level, at the family level, and of course at the national level, people, we want to think of the January 6th rioters, well, those on the left want to think of the January 6th rioters as just thugs and, just criminals, and and I'm not condoning any of their actions, but if all of them, most of them, I didn't speak to all of them obviously, but my feeling is that many of them deeply believe in the righteousness of what they were doing, and that we are the bad guys, that the election was stolen and they're saving the country from tyranny, and that justified their actions. And if you put yourself in their shoes, not that you would accept the outcome, but if you put yourself in their shoes, which is what I'm wanting the series to do, is to put you in their shoes, if you were to think that a dictator was coming along and taking over and doing a coup, wouldn't you go and respond and do something? So those are, these deeply held incorrect beliefs, which have been fueled by irresponsible journalism and social media. If we start to understand how people can't come to their beliefs, then I think we can start intelligently talking about a solution. But finger pointing and demonization is not the way.
And after having explored all of these topics and spoken to so many people involved, what does the docuseries reveal about the state of American society today?
Deeply divided, that a lot more people than you would imagine actually believe these things. I think there's been a decades long cause of this. There's been a progression. There were, at one time there were 3 television networks for the most part, national networks, and their news division and their entertainment division there was an iron wall. And the entertainment division was the one that made the profits, and the news division was the gift to the American people for the FCC providing that network a license. And somewhere along the line, that wall started to erode and got further eroded by the advent of the 24-hour news cycle and the proliferation of cable stations. And that line between entertainment and news has become very blurry, very ratings driven, very financially motivated because they sell advertising. And I think obviously not all reporting is bad, but it opened the door to opinion journalism and just flat out irresponsible journalism to stoke dissent and make money. And then that intersects with social media, which on the one hand, this thing is an amazing device, my iPhone. When I was a kid, the only personal communicator I knew about were the ones on Star Trek, where they beamed themselves up and talked to each other. The fact that I can go on my iPhone and get any bit of information that I've ever wondered about, instead of having to wait until I can pull out an encyclopedia, is miraculous, but it's also filled with disinformation. So the thing that has been a great source of information has also been a great source of disinformation. And the fact that I can use my phone to connect with people of like-minded interests, that was unheard of before the internet and before the popularization of social media. But now people are finding each other and just confirming their biases and living in an echo chamber because of how media is reported or how news is reported. So it's a troubling situation. I don't have the answers for how to fix it, but I think if we start by understanding the roots of the problem, treating people with respect, and trying to understand how they have come to their beliefs, that's the goal of the project, is to promote a little more dialogue so that we can see how we have more in common than what separates us.
And now some of your previous work has focused on shining a light on the flaws in the American justice system, or centers on some notorious figures. Is there a through line that drives you, even with a project like Shadowland? Is there a particular type of story or a particular hook that makes you say, I want to take this on as a project to dig deeper?
Well, I like to shine a light on a problem that needs fixing, so a lot of my stuff in the criminal justice system, even though somehow I'm labeled as a true crime pioneer, I really think of myself as a social justice documentarian. And, I've tried to shine a light on wrongful conviction or victim advocacy issues, things like that. And the other thing that I think, so for this show, to me, it fits right in is, I think there's a fundamental problem with how democracy is functioning, precisely because of irresponsible reporting of the news, quote unquote, how social media platforms have handled information and disinformation. I think so this fits right into that. Like, I think we have a major societal problem. The other thing I love to do in my work is to explode stereotypes, like Paradise Lost, just because somebody, wears black and listens to Metallica, it doesn't make them a devil worshiping teen who's killed 8-year-olds, which was, the horrible miscarriage of justice that Paradise Lost profiles. So to me, the stereotype that I want to explode is that somehow those people are just evil, misguided, horrible people, like the deplorables. Like if you start talking about people in that way, it makes them very defensive, and it doesn't promote any kind of mutual understanding. So my goal is to explode the stereotype that we're so different and try to really understand how to have a dialogue about getting back on track, because I think our country is headed towards really the crumbling of democracy.
And you have worked in the documentary business for quite some time, have seen the shifts and changes. I'd love to just hear about the opportunities that you're seeing now for docs in the age of streaming, with a platform like Peacock able to be a home for some of your work, and how that's impacted the opportunities that you have to tell stories.
Yeah, well, when I first started in the business, actually breaking even on a documentary would have been, a great goal. I started, I directed television commercials while we made documentaries in the first decade of my career, because that's really how I raised my family. Documentary, thanks to streaming, has become a real business. So it's kind of the golden age. There's so much documentary activity. I mean, in the old days, for example, Brothers Keeper, which turned 30 this year, my first film that I made with Bruce Sinofsky, nobody, even though it won a prize at Sundance, it won the audience award, all the distributors said, well, who wants to see a documentary about, these creepy brothers, and one of whom is accused of murdering the other? We believed in the film, so we took it out and self-distributed it, and it was quite successful. But, we had 6 35mm release prints for that movie, and we schlepped them around the country. And if 400 people saw the movie in a weekend, Bruce, my filmmaking partner, Bruce Sinofsky, and I would high five each other, and it's like we died and went to heaven. 400 people saw our movie in a movie theater. Today, you push something out on a streaming platform. A lot of my work has been with Netflix, and my Netflix stuff routinely gets over 100 million viewers. It's just incredible. So places like Peacock, Netflix, providing incredible opportunities for filmmakers. So it's never been a more exciting time to do this.
Well, this has been fantastic. So thank you so much, Joe. And I am very excited to see all of Shadowland come out.
Great. Well, thanks for the chat.